Welcome to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Podcast. A couple months ago, actually, I interviewed Jade Tornquist, for the podcast, and our conversation was so good. It inspired what she's talking about and what I'm interviewing her about on the Raw Food Health Empowerment Summit, which launches October 4th through October 6th. But in order to have access to see the interview with her in the summit, you need to register at the rawfoodhealthempowermentsummit.com. And you're definitely going to want to do that because this summit has over 20 speakers talking about their love and passion for plant foods, for raw foods, for the raw vegan economy, what I'm coining the raw vegan economy, which is all of us turning our passion into a career to bring about a culture of health in this country. And the summit is really the start of a movement, which you will learn more about in 2020. But if you want to get motivated and inspired on your raw vegan journey, definitely sign up at the rawfoodhealthempowermentsummit.com for this really impactful, inspirational, motivational summit. I really started it with the intention to create a diverse summit to show the diversity in the raw food movement, to show you that regardless of your situation and where you are, when there's a will, there's a way, because there's people doing it. And so hopefully you can see yourself in the speakers on the summit. So make sure to go to the rawfoodhealthempowermentsummit.com to register for that. And back to today's episode, I'm finally releasing this conversation with JD Raw, and it's super authentic, and I love it to get an inside peek, especially for the folks who have been in the raw vegan movement for a while. You'll learn a lot and be inspired a lot to just, take the gems of what you've learned on this journey and not hold yourself tied to any perfectionist ideals. So enjoy this episode. All right, so today on the Raw Food Health Empowerment Podcast, I'm so excited to have Jade of JDRaw.com. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Jade.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so tell us what inspired you to go raw vegan.
Well, many years ago, I went to like a seminar, and it was all about drinking juice and natural healing and all this. A friend brought me there. I thought it was a bit weird, to be honest, as you do, and thought, okay. And I ended up doing a juice fast, and I did one for about 30 days, and I felt amazing. And I truly thought there was something to eating raw food, but I was still a big meat eater back then, so I went back to eating meat and whatever. But I realised in that time I could live and actually thrive. To this day, it was actually the best I've ever felt in my life, but, I can't live on juice 24/7. If I could, I seriously would. And I then, it was my aim to be vegan, and sort of started getting into the vegan movement. And I saw this girl who I thought was so crazy, from Australia, just like I am, and the same city, called Freely the Banana Girl. I don't know if you've heard of Freely the Banana Girl. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she was eating all these bananas and was a twig, and I'm thinking, wow, I can look like that all the time. I never have looked quite like that, just quietly. But she's super fit. But I started adventuring into fruit and raw foods, and I've just been interested in it ever since. So it's probably been about 8 years now that I've been high fruit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, and it all started with that one workshop.
Yeah, it's amazing how things happen. Well, I mean, I could go back 20 years prior to that. My partner bought me a juicer and a food processor and gave me the Hallelujah diet book and barley grass. And he said, you should have carrot juice. But it was all a bit mumbo jumbo back then. But it still was the start of seeds, still learning, whatever. So the seeds were there. I just was quite unhealthy back then.
The Hallelujah diet. I never heard of that.
Oh,
It's
Dr.
interesting.
Malcolmus. Oh, amazing. Amazing book, amazing man. Yeah, really good. Really
Interesting.
good
I'm gonna have to
information.
look that up.
Yeah, really good information.
So since you've been raw vegan, how long has it been?
About 8 years high raw, high fruit. Um, Look, I've had breaks in between. I'll never say that I'm a perfect raw vegan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never tell people that. That's putting standards too high.
Yeah.
Probably look, about 7.5 years ago, I went for about 3 years, and then I had a 6-month break, and then another 3 years. So, I mean, about 7.5 with a few little breaks in between.
I see. I see. And
Few
so, yeah, so I think this part is really interesting because I'm in the process of putting on a raw food summit, and I
Mhm.
invited some folks who have been in the raw food scene, created raw food books and all this stuff,
Mhm.
and have said, no, I'm not going to be in the summit because I'm no longer 100% raw, which is so amazing to me because from my perspective, I promote a high raw vegan diet,
Which is awesome.
which is awesome because for me, like what the raw food lifestyle taught me is
Mm.
how to eat clean, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
so
still include veggies and stuff in your diet.
yes, if you have to steam some broccoli or some sweet potatoes, like you are eating way better than like over 90% of Americans, like, you know what I'm
99.9% of Americans.
saying?
You're eating awesome.
Yeah. So when you say that, I really appreciate you saying that. And like you've done raw for this period of time and then you didn't, like those times that you weren't 100% raw. What was it that had you cook food, and just,
Oh,
out of
the
curiosity.
dreaded cooked food. There's such controversy about it in the raw vegan
I
movement.
know.
Oh my goodness. Hence I started my own groups just to get rid of that dogma. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Raw isn't law. I just encourage people to eat more raw. You're doing great if you're eating 30% raw.
Yeah.
Traveling, because I mean, I've been living in Southeast Asia for 5 years, including during COVID. And I've traveled extensively around the world. Traveling, it can get hard. Especially when you're traveling on a budget. I mean, I see these videos from some raw vegans. Oh, it's so easy to travel. And you see they're like in a 5-star hotel and, they've first class on the plane. I've traveled on dodgy buses and trains and all sorts. I've caught trains all through India and Thailand and Vietnam. And when you're traveling like that, things don't go to plan.
Right.
And this is when I really learned I don't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I was traveling, I mean, I had such a Western mentality before traveling. I don't know. You go that everything can be perfect, but everything's not perfect when you're living in Eastern cultures and when you're a backpacker. It's
Yeah.
certainly not. And I was trying so hard to be perfect. I wanted to be so perfect. I was so dedicated to my YouTube channel, and I wanted to show everybody that I was just the perfect raw vegan. Look at me, I'm traveling and I can eat raw and sustain it. And you just put yourself in a prison, and then you can't breathe because you've got people looking up to you thinking you're so perfect. And then when all the cards start tumbling down, people are like, oh, you're not perfect. No, I'm not. I'm a human being. And traveling, that was when I realized, wow, I can't always be perfect, because it caused a lot of fights between my partner and I as well.
Yeah.
He's like, you're crazy. Like, there's something wrong with you. I'm like, I've got to do this and that. He's like, we can't carry all this. What are you doing? Like, we've got backpacks and we had a trunk full of stuff we're trying to cart around, and nightmare plus. And I'm trying to like cart watermelons and bananas and everything else. And, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, I just won't eat. And then I got sick, and then I got cranky, and I'm not a nice person to be around when I'm hungry. And yeah, wheels started just coming off and feeling homesick. And Asia's overwhelming when you're new to Asia. Like, it's really overwhelming, and trying to deal with all that. And yeah, so haven't been perfect. Big learning lesson for me when I wasn't perfect. Had a lot of the perfect raw vegans, like, put a lot of pressure on me, a lot of rudeness I dealt with on social media over it. But I learned so much from it. When I come back and I just said, you know what? I just want to help people be healthy. That's all I ever truly wanted to do.
Right.
But I lost myself somewhere along the way trying to be the perfect raw vegan and keep up with the elitists. And, you know, I just learned, I just want to help people be healthy. You know, if you're encouraging somebody who's eating McDonald's and Burger King every day to have a salad and a piece of fruit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it is. It truly is.
Seriously.
You know, and they're the people we need to be focusing on, not focusing on trying to be perfect. For an example, John Kohler from OK Raw Vegan. Do you know him?
Yeah. Discount juices.
He came out 2 days ago. He's eating cooked food. 26 years raw vegan. So we're not all perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we live in the world.
None of us true.
You know, and it's so funny to me because what I'm seeing in this is perfectionism, which is a trait and an issue that spans even beyond raw veganism. It's like trying to be perfect and, like, you know, just squashing what the real is that's going on with you and inside of you, and the difficulties of being this perfection, you know, which, I mean, for people who are, I don't want to diminish the folks who are 100% raw and have been,
because they're awesome.
Because they are, exactly. But I think that we are, when we try to hold ourselves to this perfection standard, we lose sight of why we went raw in the first place. You know,
to be more healthy.
Seriously. It
course.
should never cause the type of stress that's actually gonna, you know, depress the immune system, because that, like, defeats the whole point.
It's actually toxic to your body. It's more toxic than eating cooked food, is making yourself physically ill because you need to be perfect.
Yeah.
Social media does it to us too. I really feel it puts a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I appreciate your authenticity with that so much. So you've been going through this, you've been doing large time spans of being raw and eating cooked food. But I know, like, once you're raw for such a long period of time, or you even dabble in it, you do high raw, eating cooked food, your version of cooked food is very clean. Because the body just can't handle, you know, like the heavy oils and all this kinds of stuff. So, like, what kind of healing or just changes in the body have you experienced since you've been on this journey?
Oh, well, I had really bad cystic acne.
Oh, wow.
So I've cleared my skin. That's a huge thing for me, my skin. Weight loss. When I say weight loss, I was tiny when I became a vegan, and then I gained a lot of weight becoming a vegan. And, you know, not always eating the best foods, overeating, you know, and then I lost weight on fruit. So lost weight, so weight loss, hormonal differences, eczema, because I have bad eczema, sinuses, headaches. Headaches were a big thing with me, so that's been a big difference. I don't get headaches all the time. Fatigue. I don't suffer with fatigue anymore, and I don't get those 3 o'clock sort of crashes, you know, that you get. So I'm pretty balanced, and I really feel I have a lot of energy. I mean, I'm nearly 44, and I work with young children here in Vietnam, and they're full on. Like, sometimes I'll be teaching like 30 kids at a time, with the help of a teacher's assistant, which they're not always much help, because anytime they can have time off, they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And, like, they don't speak the same language as me, so I'm trying to, like, juggle these kids and everything. And so I've got to have a lot of energy, and that's the number one thing. I have energy, and being healthy gives me that energy to keep up with young kids. And
Yeah.
I love that. And that's what keeps me healthy and alive. I'm sure of it.
That's awesome. Has your raw vegan journey impacted how you teach young children or like what you bring into the classroom?
Yeah, definitely. We've made smoothies and smoothie bowls and raw balls, and I love bringing that into Vietnam. I love doing things like that with children because that's not Vietnam teaching. Vietnam teaching is children just sitting in little rows and just sitting there, and that's it, and they listen. And I love bringing my blender in and having the kids come up with me and in groups, taking turns of putting the bananas and the fruits in the blender. We've had fruit parties and all sorts. Yeah, I love it. And I love teaching children fruits and how to make juices. Yeah, we've had the juicer in and all sorts. Yeah, it's great.
Wow. That's so cool. I love hearing how people incorporate this healthy eating lifestyle into what they're doing day to day, you know? It's so
Yeah,
important because we need to show up in all these different places to move the movement forward.
absolutely. That's what it's the domino effect. I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your favorite go-to recipes?
Oh gosh, go-to favorite recipes. Look, I love zucchini. If you've got a zucchini, you can always make a dressing. Peeled zucchini, if anyone doesn't quite understand the raw sort of thing. If I have it peeled, if got a little bit of lime juice, perhaps a couple of soaked medjool dates, maybe some onion, a bit of onion powder, something like that. Give it a little blend, and I've got a lovely sour cream, something like that. Easy. And because I've used the zucchini, it stretches out the small amount of nuts that I have. I try and keep my fat low. So yeah, anything with the zucchini. I love zucchini. Someone asked me the other day, Jade, do you use a lot of zucchini? I'm like, yeah, because I like big dressings, because my salads are like this big. And if I had like the small amount of nuts that I have, which is like this, my dressing would be so small and I wouldn't be able to eat it. But if I mix it with the zucchini, all of a sudden I've got this big dressing and I can cover my whole salad. So that's perfect.
The dressing though is chunky, right? With
No,
zucchini.
I blend it in a high speed blender, so it's not smooth and creamy like a sour creamy Caesar dressing. You can add any herbs, pulse some herbs into it or something like that. That's my favorite style of dressing.
Interesting, interesting. I think the last time I tried a zucchini in a dressing, I was using my Ninja. So I need to use the Vitamix next time.
Yeah.
See
Use
if
the
that makes a
Vitamix.
difference.
Always use the Vitamix when you're making dressings or any high-speed blender. I'm not such a Vitamix snob like I used to be before I lived in Vietnam, because I
Yeah.
can't access any of those cool things here. So I've got a Vietnam high-speed blender. I don't know what brand it is. So yeah, you just get what you get when you're in these countries.
So I'm curious, how did you even find it?
Find Vietnam?
No, find the high speed blender version
Ah,
in Vietnam.
they've got an online place called Lazada, and you just search for what you want, and you can do it in English, and because it's just translated into Vietnamese, and I had it delivered, and it was about $100, but it's fast. It's quite fast. I don't think it's as good as my Vitamix. I've got a Vitamix back home. When I say home, Australia, which I haven't been home living there for 5 years, but I'm used to it now. It's
Yeah.
good. It's okay. It does the job.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what recommendations do you have for folks starting on their raw vegan journey?
Start with breakfast. Breakfast is easy. I think people really struggle with dinner time the most. It's one of the hardest parts for people. And, we're so programmed into eating dinner. Plus, it's with, a lot of time with your family, friends, whatever. You get that feeling left out mentality. Start with breakfast. Have a fruit breakfast. There's nothing yummier than having fruit. It's hydrating. We need to hydrate our brains first thing in the morning. Start with fruit in the morning. And then after that, just crowd your plates. So if you want to eat 100% raw, don't think you're going to do it overnight. Because, I've met like 1 in a billion people who can do that. So just crowd your plate with extra salad, have fruit before you eat your lunch and your dinner, so that you're not eating as much as the other food, and then slowly take it out. Like reduce the amount of cooked food you're eating, and maybe every second day eat all raw.
Yeah.
And then, add it in a bit more, slowly wean yourself in. And if you do decide you want to have something cooked, don't kick yourself and think, oh my God, I'm hopeless. Have the cooked food, move along the next day, just be raw again. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't have an all or nothing mentality.
That right there. Exactly. So you have the free raw vegan ebook with a 7-day menu plan available for folks to download. Tell us about this book. What inspired it, and what can readers look forward to as they go through it?
What inspired me? I've been running raw food forums for about 7.5 years. I started my own forums because it was back when there was a lot more dogma than there is these days. There's a lot more people now that are more open about eating, some cooked food and not being perfect and whatever. But back then there was such stigma about being perfect, and I just wanted to have a nice place where we could relax and feel calm, and it wasn't so much pressure on people to be perfect, and I didn't want people just fasting all the time. I wanted people to have concrete foundations that they could stick to. Mm-hmm. And over the years, and including my own trials and tribulations on this lifestyle, I noticed a trend of reasons why people fail as a raw vegan, and people think it's something wrong with them and why are they failing, because it's never talked about enough. There's so much taboo in this movement where, hush, don't tell anybody. But, nobody's perfect. Right. And so I just put together my 10 reasons why people fail on a raw vegan lifestyle. And I wrote about, the reasons, and I gave people suggestions of what they can do. And the number one reason I put there was people undereat. And I didn't think it was fair to give people the number one reason and then not give them any guide of how to eat. So I put a 7-day meal plan in there, and I just wanted to give it to members of my group who come in, because that's one of the biggest questions people ask. Hey, what do I eat? Because you just don't really realise what you eat. And so it's just a guide for people to understand. And I think everybody's got a right to be healthy. Everybody's got a right to knowledge, to health, and not everybody can afford to buy things, and not everybody can find information on the net, because there's so much stuff on there, you drown trying to find information. So I just thought I'd give it to people just to help them on their journey.
Yeah. That's awesome. In the book, you go through, like you said, the 10 reasons people fail on the raw vegan diet. And you mentioned the I am missing out mentality, right? That FOMO, fear of missing out. So this is really a real thing for many of us in many ways, not just even with food, but I know me personally with education, business ideas, all of the things, right? You want to be in, you don't want to be left out. You want to be, doing all the things. So how exactly do you overcome the missing out mentality?
Still working on it. I mean, it's just a natural human instinct, isn't it? We want to belong. And I think during this COVID time, more than ever, we want to belong. We want to be a part of people, because we've been missing people so much. Look, I truly believe for people, you have to develop your own habits. You have to become captain of your cheer squad, because nobody else will cheer for you when you're on this lifestyle. That I assure you. People are going to try and sabotage you. Not saying they do it deliberately, it just kind of happens. It's just one of those things. And people will offer you food. People will be very concerned for your well-being also. They will be concerned that you're not eating properly. Oh my God, you're going to die of protein deficiency. So there's, big worries from people. But look, having your own food prepared makes a huge difference. I know when I was starting out, I mean, look, these days no one really asks me what I am or aren't eating because I always have my own food prepared, except when I'm traveling. That's never a great thing. But even if you're going to a friend's place and you say to her, hey, can you tell me what you're making tonight for the guests? And she says she's making a pizza or making a lasagna, make a raw one. And I've done that plenty of times, especially when I was back in Australia. It's not really been a big deal whilst living in Asia. But like if everyone was having pizza night, I would have my raw vegan pizza. I didn't feel left out because I was sitting there with my raw vegan pizza. I always laugh when I say that because a raw vegan pizza isn't a pizza. It's usually, a bit of bound zucchini or something together with some veggies on top. But, you think you're having a pizza, or if you're having a raw lasagna or whatever, you still feel part of it. You're not feeling like you're left out. And I think that's probably the best thing for people is just plan ahead. When you plan ahead and you eat before you go somewhere, so you're not tempted to fall into, oh, I want that.
Yeah. And I love that idea because I know many times it's happened to me where it's like either someone makes sure that there's food for me that I can eat, or I bring something that I know I can eat, and my thing ends up disappearing faster than all the other things.
I hate that.
It's like I thought I was the only one.
Oh my God, I hate that. Or like you go, oh, don't worry, Jade, we'll have a big salad there for you. And it's like a little salad for like half a person.
Yeah.
And then everyone grabs your salad and then you're like, you guys do realize that was my food? And then you're sitting going like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is why I always go to events full.
Yeah.
And I make sure I have some seasoned nuts in my bag. But I like I like that in terms of like my presence just makes it easier for people to eat healthier, because I'm the excuse why the healthy food is there, but then they eat it, so it's a great opportunity for us, especially as we're trying to develop community and not feel left out, like to really pay attention to who's eating our food. And that's like a entryway into conversation, and just make more and spread the love. And just, I think that's probably how we advance it, so more and more people are eating this way.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's awesome.
And your book makes it super easy, and you have a 50% off deal on all your raw vegan books, which is awesome. Yes. And the code is going to be in the show notes. So make sure you click the link below this video to take advantage of that 50% off of all of these raw vegan books, all of these raw recipes. So you can be the one bringing these healthy foods to the potlucks, to the office parties, to, all the things.
And you never, ever, ever have to worry that you won't like your food.
Yeah. Exactly, because you seasoned it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all in the sauce.
So how can folks connect with you online? You said you had multiple raw vegan forums. I know I'm in the Facebook raw vegan group. What other forums and what other areas can folks connect with?
So you're on the raw vegan group. I have a raw vegan fruitarians for life 80-10-10 group, because I predominantly follow the 80-10-10 program. But it's funny enough, I started the raw vegan group after that, and that was because so many people who were just interested in raw but higher fat and whatever were coming into that group. So I pulled them all out and put them into the raw vegan group, which became a bigger group. But that's cool. I like both groups. And I've also got a fruits and greens group. So I've got 3 raw vegan groups. But if you join any one of the groups, at the top of the group, you see the links for the other 2. So you can feel free to join the other if you're interested in learning about a higher fruit lifestyle, or if you're just interested in just raw veganism in general, then the raw vegan one's probably the best, because the fruity ones, they can get they're a little bit special. A Let's put it that way.
I think that's so cool because I think a lot of folks who listen to this podcast are in environments where they are the only one. They're the unicorn. So when you can connect to a community where this is normalized, it helps you feel more normal, you know?
Yeah,
You don't
well,
feel
you're
like
with
you're doing
other
something strange.
unicorns. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's
exactly.
thousands of people.
There
Who
are there are thousands of people that are high raw for
Yeah.
sure, definitely.
Yeah. So we out here. So yes, and you're on Instagram at JD Raw too, right?
Yes, yes, I'm on Instagram. My little favorite place to be. I do like Instagram. It's a sweet place. People are so much nicer on Instagram.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful too when people see the real, the authentic, versions of folks so that they know what's really going on. Because I think, like, with some people, it's like a bait and switch. Oh my gosh, you were telling me and you're not, the bait
Yeah,
and switch is what really gets folks.
yeah, exactly. And I've tried to. I mean, most of my journey, as honest as you can. I mean, look, there's times you hold back, and it's only to protect yourself on social media. I've been on
Yeah.
social media now for nearly 8 years, and I have ridden waves of bullying, and I probably protect myself a lot more these days. I'm certainly not on social media as much as I used to. My poor YouTube channel has been stagnant for over a year. Keep saying I'm going to get back on there, but one day we'll get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I protect myself a lot more these days. I used to be really, really open, and that's life. Just things happen. I got a little bit overwhelmed by bullies and stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there. I keep saying I'll get behind the camera again, and it's always nice when I get invited to be guests on interviews because it builds my confidence up a little bit again. So hopefully we'll get there because I really want to make reels. Is that what they're called? Reels? I really want to get into reel making, but I get scared.
I know. I'm dealing with the same thing, like having photos of me, and it's so much easier to just take photos of the fruit because it's all about the food. It's not about me.
Yeah, I know. And, it's just so silly because I never pick other people apart on social media. I always look at people and think, oh, they look nice. They look nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'll go to put a photo of myself up there and I'll be like, oh, I'm like, I'll just put the watermelon. Yeah, the watermelon.
Yeah. I really appreciate your authenticity. I appreciate the fact that you touched on prioritizing your self-care because that's basically what you're talking about, and showcasing that, yes, I love raw foods, but it is not the end all be all. That is not my entire life. There are more, dynamics to my life,
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate all of this conversation. Thank you so much, Jade. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for having me. You're wonderful. You're just actually a pleasure to talk to.